Hey, this is Mike Matthews from muscleforlife.com, and this is going to be the first video in a series that I'm going to do. I'm going to do 1 or 2 a week, and they're just going to be short videos, unlike the interminably long videos that I normally post, which, yes, is the absolute worst way to go about building YouTube following, but that's all I've been doing. So now I'm going to start doing shorter videos, and instead of me just choosing random things to talk about, I thought it'd be a good idea to take questions that I get from people like you that normally I'd reply via email or on the Ask Me Anything thread over at muscleforlife.com, which I'll link down below in the description. That's a great place to go submit the question. Like if you have questions you want me to answer, go to the AMA thread and submit it there, and you'll either get an answer, a written answer, or I'll pick. I'm going to pick a couple each week and make videos on them. Obviously, I'm going to pick stuff that I can explain in maybe 3 to 5 minutes, and that is going to be broadly applicable as opposed to, very circumstantial. So the first question that I want to address is how much fat can you gain in, let's say, a meal or a day? Basically, how much damage can you do in a short period of time? This is something I've spoken about in previous podcasts and Q&As, and I've written even a little bit about it here and there, but I don't have like an article on this specifically. I thought I'd make a good short video. So the answer is it's going to depend on what you eat and on your body. And let's take both of these quickly. So what you eat, the long story short is a high carb meal. When we're talking about an individual meal or even a day, going high carb when you're overfeeding is going to result in less immediate fat storage than high fat. And the reason why is because dietary fat is stored very efficiently as body fat. It's the thermic effect, meaning the energy cost is very, very low. And that's one of its primary purposes, is to essentially replenish fat stores in the body. Of course, there's other functions related to cellular regeneration and hormones and stuff. But one of the primary purposes of having dietary fat in your diet is to replenish fat stores, because your body's constantly juggling between fat burning and fat storing. So carbs, on the other hand, are not very efficiently stored. In fact, you won't really even see any noticeable fat gain when you are eating a lot of carbs until your body's glycogen stores, which is a form of carbohydrate stored in the liver and in the muscles. Until your body is maxed out there, until those stores are topped off, your body doesn't even begin converting carbs, or glucose is what it breaks down to in the body, obviously. It doesn't begin converting glucose into body fat until that has happened. And in terms of how much that is for the average person, for the average guy, let's say, it's probably about 500 to 600 grams of carbohydrate essentially are stored in the muscles and liver at any time. And they get it, when you exercise, that gets depleted, and when you, especially high intensity exercise, weightlifting, and so forth. So if you are eating a lot of dietary fat, you are going to gain more fat from that meal than a lot of carbs. And this is good to know for even periods when, let's say, you're going to be out of town for the weekend and you want to have some fun, you want to go to restaurants. If you want to minimize the damage, so to speak, then just keep your dietary fat under control. Like me personally, I try to keep it at or under 100 grams a day, and you opt more for the high carb foods instead of the high fat foods. Now, in terms of caloric intake, if we're looking at one meal, it's hard to say really how much fat is going to be gained from that one meal, because we know there are about 3,500 calories worth of energy in a pound of fat, but it's not as simple as just eat 3,500 calories and you're going to gain a pound of fat, because again, the body is doing different things with the food that you eat. The protein is going to be used for different things. Protein also is basically it's just the conversion to body fat just doesn't even happen. Carbs, it doesn't happen nearly as efficiently as many carb haters would have you believe. And even the dietary fat that you eat, some of it's oxidized, some of it is used for other things. So it's really hard to say. I mean, also, even if we look at it in terms of an overall day, even if you eat 10,000 calories in that day, and let's say you only burn 3,000 calories, that 7,000 calories is not just going to go, that's not 2 pounds of fat that you're going to gain, even if it all came from dietary fat. One, like I said, your body is doing other things with the dietary fat that you're eating. And two, synthesizing fat, I mean, there is a physiological process that has to happen. It's not like it's just automatic. Again, dietary fat is converted very efficiently, but it's not, it's not for every gram of dietary fat that you eat, you gain a gram of body fat. Now, anecdotally speaking, because I don't know of any scientific research that's really worth citing, and this is also one of the reasons why I haven't really written an article on this, because I've looked at a lot of the overfeeding studies, and I understand the basic mechanisms, but in terms of putting an actual number on it to say, well, here's an example of how much dietary fat, how much body fat you can gain in a period of time. I haven't found anything that's really conclusive enough to what I feel warrant a whole article and exploration of it. So I'm just kind of speaking anecdotally here with my own body and just working with lots of people. I would say that it's probably reasonable to assume that you could gain upwards of a pound of fat a day if you were really to go ham. And I mean, like, that's going to require eating probably 10,000 plus calories a day. You're going to have to eat a ton of food. But if you did that, you probably could gain up to a pound of fat a day. But that's where you're going to be basically on the verge of puking at all times from just being so full, and you're going to have, be eating food every 30 minutes or something. You'd have to really work hard at it. And then I mentioned earlier that your body plays a role in this as well. And that's because your body composition does, how much muscle you have, how lean you are, how much you're exercising, mainly because not only does having muscle increase the amount of energy that you're burning, but it also increases insulin sensitivity. Being lean increases insulin sensitivity. Exercising increases insulin sensitivity. And what that means is the more sensitive your body is to insulin, because insulin drives nutrients into cells. So the more sensitive your body is, and especially your muscles, because your muscles can soak up quite a bit of carbohydrate and dietary fat, actually. So if you are muscular, lean, and you exercise a lot, you are going to gain less fat from overeating than somebody else, simply because somebody else who's not as lean or not as muscular or doesn't exercise as much, simply because your body is going to, and that comes back to that nutrient partitioning. It's kind of like the technical term for it. Your body is going to it has more things it can do with the food that you eat than store it as fat. And lastly, with your body, genetics does come into play. Some people's bodies are very sensitive naturally to carbs, meaning that they don't respond well to carbs. Those people would gain more fat from eating a lot of carbs than somebody who is not sensitive to carbs. I got a DNA test done by DNA Fit, I believe is the name of the company, and I have a very low sensitivity to carbs, meaning that my body deals with them very well. And I guess I've always kind of known that because I can eat large amounts of carbs. I can eat hundreds and hundreds of grams of carbs in one meal, and really not, I don't crash. I mean, it takes a lot for me to crash. I have to eat an absurd amount of sugar and just carbs to really crash. So I've kind of always known that, but it was interesting to just see it on a genetic test. So that comes into play as well. And there's also fat sensitivity. So, you may be genetically programmed to resist fat gain or to, you could say, accelerate fat gain. So it's not a make-break thing at all. It's just something you're going to kind of learn along the way. You're going to learn how your body responds to high carb, how it responds to low carb, high fat, just like how you're going to learn how it responds to different caloric ranges, what your bulking calorie range tends to be, what your maintenance tends to be in cutting and so forth. And it could be wildly different than mine or the next guys or girls. So again, it's something you're just going to naturally learn along the way. All right, so that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. And if you want to see more of these videos, then just head over to the AMA, which I'll link down below, and submit your question. And like I said, I'm going to be picking a couple of these a week to do videos on, and otherwise, I'll just be answering them in the thread. And there are a lot of questions there, so you may also want to just kind of browse through. I've addressed it. I think that thread is at like 3,000 comments, so there's tons of good stuff in there. And yeah, that's it. All right, see you in the next video.